Hello, everybody. Welcome to Coffee with Casey, where we talk about market conditions, pricing strategies. Never more important than it's been right now. We've witnessed over the last 5 years that I've been doing this a migration from east to west caused by COVID, caused by whatever, caused by security. Maybe people were leaving because they thought there was too much crime and they wanted to get out in the suburbs. For whatever reason, there's been quite a migration out to the west. And, people can work from home. If your commute is no longer 60 minutes, it's zero to go up into your office upstairs. Now you're talking about being able to purchase a bigger home, bigger land, spread out a little bit. The COVID, I think, gave everybody that claustrophobic feel, so they just needed to spread out a little bit. So we're going to talk about, you know, how much has it affected all the area? What are prices? How high did they go up? Um, are they going to come back? Or are they going to start to reevaluate? Is what's happening in Washington, D.C. with coming back to the office, cutting back government, cutting back programs, eliminating $180 million worth of contracts here and $180 million there. Well, those are contracts that go to people that work in this area. Those are employees that work in this area. So how is this going to affect us? And when should we expect to see it? First, let me share my screen and let's go out and let's take a look at the migration and get some stats on that. Okay, so here we go with the Great Migration of 2020. All right, and then we're going to talk about what's next. So let's talk about what the migration was. Okay, so I'm looking at a 3,500 square foot home. What does that cost in DC, in Arlington, in Oakton, Haymarket, Centerville, and work our way out to Leesburg, right? And to see how much of these houses grown as they've gone in. And the farther west, the bigger they're going to grow. So all I did, all I did was say, what are the prices and how much have they grown since 2020? And then we'll make all of our we'll plot that out and then we'll try and read that chart and figure out what it means. So basically, here's the distances people are saving when they work at, let's say, the Pentagon. So Arlington to the Pentagon, 12 minutes. It's in Arlington, for gosh sakes. That's just getting through town. But all the way out, Haymarket takes 60 minutes to get to the Pentagon, and you can see all the way through. So Centerville, just off the phone with somebody who works in Centerville, downtown government worker, 32 minutes into his office every morning. So, I think that the outer lying suburbs would be Centerville. The west, far west, is places like Aldi, Leesburg, Ashburn, Haymarket. Those are the four communities we really service outside of this outer layer of suburbs. So, I plotted the prices for all of those. And and I'm going to just go through this quick because I know this is a little much for people to read and see, but this will be on our site. But basically what it's showing you is in 2020, what was the price? And in 2025, right now, what is the price? So if we go to some place like McLean, a 3,500 square foot house in McLean, and back in 2020 sold for $1.4 million. Today, $2,071,000. So that's a $600,000, $700,000 bump in prices since 2020, right? Just since 2020. And I'm going to show you the growth charts of who grew fast and who grew slow. And I think it's all going to make sense. But if somebody's looking at their town, like when I go to a seller, let's say I go to Vienna, it's 3,500 square foot house. I say it's worth $1.5 million. Well, I really would like that 1.6. Well, in 2020, it was worth 1.15. So we've really increased $350,000, $400,000 from that day. So, again, we have a saying, and we always have, pigs get fed, hogs get slaughtered. The people that put it on too high, if it fails to sell, you got a problem. You're withdrawn. People think there's something wrong with the house. It lends itself to inspections. It's a nightmare. It's what we call the mud. So you cannot underprice a house. you can only overprice a house. Let me give you an example. This weekend, should we put a house on for 1.35 or 1.3? Well, we're not sure what this market is doing. You know, we tested 135, didn't really get the response we were looking for. We dropped it to 1.3. We got 1.45. Didn't get the response we were looking for at 1.35 million, right? In our coming soon, in our predictive analysis, we dropped it to 1.3. We got 1.45, right? So there are houses out there that are getting 100, 115, 120,000 over the list price. And again, we test the higher price. It just doesn't test well. Nobody's coming. We drop it, and then it comes 100, 115, or 150,000 over list price. So we're testing the buyer pools right now. We're looking at the spring buyer pools. But, you know, again, we just have to make sure we know where the values are today. So let's take a look at what's happened since 2020, okay? These are the percentages of growth. In other words, if it started here and ended here, that is a 28% growth. So in Washington, D.C., the growth was 28% since 2020. Now, inflation, if everybody just went up for inflation, they went up about 24%. So when you go up 28%, you're right about there. You're right about where inflation would be. Arlington didn't even get to inflation. Arlington has gone up 20% since 2020. So McLean is what we call an anomaly. And I'm going to show you on a little farther in the show, I'm going to show you what an anomaly really is. But McLean is the anomaly. It doesn't fit what everybody else is doing. So I'm looking at that, and I don't usually chart Washington, D.C., but I said, if McLean went really up high, higher than most, you can see Vienna, Oakton, and Centerville all went up about 30, 32%. Why did McLean go up 48% and Arlington only go up 20? Could it have been security? Could people have not felt safe in Washington and Arlington? Was there a minor migration from 2,500 square foot townhouses to 3,500 square foot homes, right? Did they leave DC? Did they leave Arlington to get to maybe bigger single family houses? Maybe. It looks like there was a mini migration from Arlington and DC to McLean. And that's why McLean, instead of going up 30 or 32%, went up 48%. Okay. That came from DC and Arlington. It can be my only, the only reason I come up with why would one place just go out of whack like that. So let's look. Vienna went up 30%. You know, that's only 6%, really. That's only 6% higher than inflation. And the fact that we don't have a lot of inventory is surprising. I thought it would have gone up more because we had lack of inventory. Oakton, Centerville came in at the same thing, 32% above the inflation rate. Okay, so my guess is we're 30, 32% above the inflation rate. Washington and Arlington, a little lower, McLean a little higher. Maybe that was a little quick migration there. But now we go to the, what I would call the outer lying suburbs, the Beltway suburbs, and they're at 30, 32%. Now, let's go out west. Let's go to Ashburn and Leesburg and Aldi and Haymarket. Well, those homes, you know, again, here's your migration. Can you see it? Can you see it go from Washington and Arlington out to Leesburg and Aldi, where prices went up 61%, 50%, 47%, 44%. Now, this causes some confusion out there. And I'm going to talk about the assessments. Right after this, I'm going to the assessments. Everybody in Loudoun is opening up their assessments right now, and you're going to get a shock. I mean, it could be up, the person I just spoke to, 20% is what their assessment went up. So I'm going to address that in 5 seconds, okay? So we're seeing that the migration west has overinflated those houses at least 12, 15%. In other words, I'm talking about everybody else went up 30, you went up 60. Okay, you're 30% higher than the outer lying suburbs. Why is that? Well, you can work at home. Why not move out west? And that's what they did. So this is going to take time. It took a little time for it to get like this. It's going to take a little time for it to ease back down. But you're going to start seeing this go like this. It's going to start to level back down again. Could that take 2 years? Oh, yeah. It could take a while. However, these guys are moving pretty fast downtown. I mean, they're going through the government and they're knocking out $180 million contracts like it's candy. So they're moving a little faster than we thought. So, what's the most important show that you can watch? Right here, because we watch inventory, success rate, absorption rates, pricing every week. So this week, we're going to talk about what has the migration caused and where is it headed to next, right? I think, to be honest with you, the chart that we're looking at right now, and for those of you on the podcast, it's basically you've got to go on and watch the YouTube of this to see, how much everybody went up since 2020. Pretty remarkable. So on this chart that we're looking at now, all I did was I said, what are you above or below the inflation rate? If your homes went up at the value of inflation, are you over it or under it? So Washington, D.C., 4% over where it should be. Arlington, 4% under where it should be. Then McLean, 24. Again, we've had an anomaly. They shot up faster than everybody else. Vienna, Oakton, Centerville, only 6 to 8%. So it's not a big number. So do I see Vienna or Oakton having any big corrections? No. Do I see Ashburn, which is 20% over the inflation rate? Leesburg, 37% over inflation rate. Aldi, 26% over inflation rate. And Haymarket, 23%. So what that means is that they appreciated, let's take Aldi, 26%. Aldi appreciated, not just 24, but 24 and then 26% over and top of that. So do I feel there's going to be a correction out there? Yes. Going to be a wild panic? No. But sellers need to understand that there's going to be a correction. Now, so with this chart, what everybody's looking at now is a chart with a blue line and a red line. Okay. Now, this is really going to mess people up. This is going to absolutely throw most inexperienced realtors or people that do what's called CMAs. It's going to throw them into a tailspin. So basically what you're looking at is the blue line is what is the value of a house that one of our subject properties. So it started in 2020, it was worth $1,050,000. Today, it's worth $1.57 million. So you can see it went up, it went down a little, and then it went up and up. And now it sits at, its value is $1.57 million. That is 50% higher than it was in 2020, which is consistent with the charts that we've done for, Haymarket and Aldi and all that stuff. So yeah, the value or the price has gone up 50% since 2020. And again, these people are just hit with a 20% increase in their taxes. Since 2020, the property tax on this home have gone up 97%. So it went from, they were assessed for 771,000. Now they're assessed at 1.517 million. That is a 97% increase in the assessment. Now, what does this mean? Does this mean your house just went up that? No, it doesn't. It just means the assessors are trying to catch up and they don't know what the hell they're doing right now. They went from last year's assessment, 1.265, to this year's assessment, 1.517. I mean, that is pretty incredible. Pretty incredible. So in 2 years, it went up maybe 200,000, and in 1 year, it went up almost 300,000. So what does that mean? What does that mean? That means the tax assessments are off. and are what we call unreliable. So I can't rely on 1.517 to tell me, well, what's a house worth? Because look over here on the left-hand side. On the left-hand side of the chart, it has the years. Fiscal year 2020, 21, 22, 23, 24, and 25. Next to that, it's the percentage of homes sold over that year's assessment. So in 2020, homes were selling at 36% higher than the assessment. 2021, 42% on average higher than their assessment. Now you get down to now, Loudoun County is saying, hey, we're leaving a lot of money on the table. We got to up our assessments. So then they start to really jump, right? In 2023, homes in Willisford sold at 118% of assessment. High, but reasonable. 2024, they sold at 18% higher or 20% higher than their assessment. And now with this new assessment, they are selling at 4% higher than their assessment. They were at 42%. Now they're 4%. So is it confusing? Oh, you betcha. Oh yeah, it's confusing. Kevin's got to work twice as hard. I'm working twice as hard, but we can't be wrong on pricing. We cannot be wrong on pricing. There will be 40 to 50% of the homes overpriced because now they're going, if my assessment went up 300,000, my value went up 300,000, and that's what I'm going to put my house on for. Please, anybody, friends, family, neighbors, business associates that are going to sell a house, have them call us. This is going to be a problem. This is not, it's going to make it more difficult to land that exact right price. Okay. Now, let me show you how some people are going to do it. I mean, big names. I don't mean like, Joe's real estate or da 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 da. I'm talking about big companies. Okay. This is a Compass CMA, competitive market analysis. And what they do is they put an address in the computer, hit a button, and it tells you what your house is worth. The agent doesn't do it, which the agent should. The agent needs to be an expert on pricing. It cannot rely on these things. Let me show you why. Somebody just sent me a competitive analysis on a property in Vienna. And they gave me all the comps for the property. I said, well, let me take a look at it. Well, the first two comps are not sales. One is active. You can't use an active listing to assess what a house is worth. The next one, not a sale either. Under contract, how do we know what the final price is going to be? The third comparable they have, and it's listed as comparable number 3, is a 3,300 square foot house. It's comparing to a 1,400 square foot house. So the rule of thumb is you can't use anything, say 500 square feet above or below. So that means you're somewhere between 1,000 and 1,900. And this is a 3,317 square foot home, not a comp. Not only that, it was sold in March. Now, if prices go up or down since March, oh yeah. There's been a lot of volatility in pricing. You cannot rely. So the rule of thumb also is you can't go back more than 90 days. Well, 90 days is December, November, right? So you've got to stay within a certain mileage, a certain size, a certain age. They don't even have the age of the property on this, and this is Compass. They don't even assess the age of a property. Well, what happens if one property is built in 1970 and the other property is built in 1995? Where's the adjustment for that? It's not here. They have bedrooms and bathrooms. Guess what? On my assessments, I don't even have bedrooms and bathrooms. You'll never see it on anything that I have. If I'm in a house and it's customary to have 4 bedrooms, it has 4 bedrooms. If you have 3 bedrooms, that's not customary. That's a problem. And that's what us realtors are here for. Is it customary to have 4 bedrooms? Yes. How about 5? No, that's a benefit, having an extra bedroom, right? So let's keep going. I'm going over all their comps. This comp is from August the 30th. So right size, right area. But how can I use something that was done in the summer when I'm in the winter, right? This house down here, comp 5, 2,400 square feet. So I'm looking at their first 5 comparables. Not one comparable is a qualified comparable. Not one. There's the name, Compass. These are comparable 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. Comp number 6, 3,155 square feet. Is that a qualifier? No. It was sold in July. Is that a qualifier? No. It doesn't qualify on 2 different things. The next one, 2,000 square feet. Okay, maybe if I don't have a lot of comps, I might squeeze that in there, but I have no age. It's done in May, right? So if it's done in May, um, that's no good to me. It's literally no good for me. Comparable 8. Now, I don't think we have a legitimate comp yet. Comp 8, 1,472 square feet. That's good. It's not a sale. There's no sales. It's not a sale. So I don't know what I'm looking at. So I'm not sure that's a comparable. Number 9, comparable number 9. It was done in August. That's too long ago. It's no good to me now. I mean, I can't price something in February based on what happened in August. It's got to be happening right this second, right? Comparable number 10, not a sale. Comparable number 11. We got one. Comparable 11 works. Comparable 11 works. That is a legit comp. It was done in December. It's bigger. We're 1,400 square feet. There's 1,700 square feet. Sold for $966. That's the only comp I've got. The next one is too big and it's not really a comparable. So I can't really use that. I probably maybe use it if I got to ratchet it down. But if my house is only 2/3 as big, that's going to adjust the value of the house down, right? So you don't want something too big or too small. You have to have something that's just right. You have to have that time frame it's sold. You need the ages, which is incredible that they don't have the age of the home on these market analysis. And they say, well, we estimate the home to be $1,050,000 to 1.150. This is not hand grenades. This is not all we got to do is get close. 1,050,000 to 1.15. This is why 40% of the homes, and if I'm wrong, 50% of the homes are not going to go to sell, are not going to sell. Because here's what's going to happen. Just got off the phone with a senior management official in the United States government. He's selling his house. He wants out. He sees what's coming. It's not going to be good. Not going to be good for the Washington metropolitan area. There's going to be people putting their house on the market. There's going to be more inventory. It is going to be never more, you could have had your, maybe you could have had your uncle or your crazy father-in-law or somebody else who just got his real estate license. Maybe you'd have them put it on and still sell. Maybe. Not anymore. Those days are gone. I'm telling you, those days are gone. It's going to be a different market. I often show people a PDF, and I don't know, I guess I did it back in 2016 because I wanted them to see that there was 52 homes on the market, like 1,300,000 to 1,600,000 or something in Vienna, and only 2 were under contract. And I did that because one of mine was the one under contract. So I want to say, hey, there's 52 houses on the market and there's only 2 under contract. Mine is one of them. So thank God I saved that document. Is it coming back to that? I don't know. I don't see that yet, but it might be coming. So every week you're going to need to, I don't like listening to me talk either. You're going to have to tune in. You're going to have to keep tabs on what the market is doing. It's changing. And if you don't change with it or you don't adapt to it, you're done. And when you fall into the mud, if your house, all our houses are selling over list price in the first week. If you don't, it sits on the market. And then we get a lot of inventory coming and they're taking a pass on your home. And now something must be wrong with it. It didn't sell and it sits and it sits. And you start this spiral of death, which is dropping the price. We call it the death spiral. And then you got inventory problems. And then you're going to have a home inspection when somebody comes to your house. And then there's going to be a lot of issues on the home inspection. And if you don't acquiesce to that buyer, then they're going to kick out and you got to go all the way again. And when you start all over again, I'm just letting the dogs scare the mailman off. I still work at home or in somebody else's home. So we have a problem and we need to be very thoughtful about how we go about it because, and I've said this before, and this is going to become more apparent in the days to come. I said, your house in 2020 sold for 800,000. Today it sells for 1.3. Well, I don't like 1.3. I want 1.4. And I never forget it. As I was closing my computer, I said, if you don't like 1.3, you're going to hate 1.2. And you're going to really hate 115 because the home is currently 30% over the value line. And once inventory starts to come and people have to go back to work, it could come back closer to the value line. So if you don't like 1.3, you're going to hate 1.15. You're going to hate 1.2. And you're going to hate more getting there and finding out and learning. So we need to be a little more professional out there, more professional than looking at those CMAs. I heard a very well-known realtor. She goes, I pay a lot to have my phones ring. That phone rings, I punch out the CMA, I rip it off the printer, and out the door I run. And at one time, and again, I don't want to badmouth people. That's not what I'm here for. One time she had $55 million worth of unsold real estate sitting there active. 55 million. And those days are coming back. So if somebody walks in your door with a 26-page report, yada, 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 this is the price. Have them tell you, how did you arrive at that price? Oh, well, these guys, no. That's not a comp, that's not a comparable. That comp is not a qualifier unless it's 500 square feet bigger, 500 square feet smaller, 10 years older, 10 years younger, within a 1 mile range, sold in the last 90 days. Those are not qualified comps. And if they are not qualified comps, you better sure as hell figure out how you're going to adjust from that number to your number on your house. And you better be able to explain that. And you better be able to see your charts. So we're going to be playing in a whole new ballpark in 2025. Stay tuned. It's going to be very interesting. My name is Casey Samson. You've been listening to Coffee with Casey, where we desperately try and keep everybody up to date on market conditions, market strategies, because if you do it wrong in the real estate market, especially the one we're heading into, it's going to be worth a couple, I know people think I'm crazy when I say it could be worth a couple 100,000. Our average house sells, let's say $1.5 million. The comparables I use sell anywhere between 106% of assessment and 127% of assessment. 20% swing up and down on a $1.5 million house is $300,000. There is $300,000 at stake. When you're selling your house, there is 20% at stake. Even if it's 800, that's $150,000, $160,000. And for somebody selling an $800,000 house, I'll bet that $160,000, they want to get as much of that as they possibly can. So my name is Casey Samson. You can reach me at 703-508-2535, Casey at CaseySamson.com. If you are a realtor and you might not have the expertise to price in this market or to do what you need to do, you can always refer those over to us, or you can partner with us and we will come in. We cannot have these homes sit on the market. I'm telling you, it's going to be very bad. It's not going to end very well. So So you can call me at 703-508-2535 or Casey at CaseySamson.com. We'll see you all again next week. Bye now.